Hi there. Welcome back to another episode of Stoned Storytelling with Rex, wherein I get stoned, or in this case, more stoned, and tell you ridiculous stories from my past. As I have stated before, these stories require no embellishment. They are my own life, and they are what they are. Anytime I discuss any illegal kind of activity, please note that these things that I'm discussing have taken place well beyond the statute of limitations for prosecution, or are things that have already been adjudicated. So, I am not admitting to any kind of current criminal activity because I do not participate in current criminal activity. So, thank you very much. Ching! Today, we will be enjoying some very, very tasty and rather potent Skywalker OG. And we will also, I don't know, I've got this bad habit I've developed of speaking of myself in the royal we. I've also been enjoying the Eureka Vapor pen. It's a disposable, preloaded CO2 cannabis cartridge. Um, you can get an initial setup pretty cheap, and it comes with the rechargeable battery and one cartridge. It's it's available in indica sativas or hybrids, and I think there's usually a couple of flavors of each. Half gram is 30, full gram is $50 or $60. Uh, but it's a pretty tasty little product. I'm pretty sure there's no added terpenes, at least to the best of my knowledge. But it hits like a champ, and it has the advantage of looking like something with e-juice in it. So it helps with being discreet in public, because I'm just like, oh yeah, everyone's vaping some stupid shit right now, and they don't really think about the fact that it smells like weed. Same shitty bone, cleaned it today, but still the same shitty bone. Anyone out there got some kind of glass hook, feel free to send me something. I will rock the hell out of it and tell everyone how wonderful you are. The bowl there was a little bit bigger than I had anticipated. Okay. So, this particular episode is titled Car Keys, Swingers, and Corvettes. um, so when I was a very young man of 18, and I had first moved to Portland, I was living in a small little apartment building in a nice northwest neighborhood, and I was right next to a little business that had a parking lot there that was exclusively for that business. It was not for neighborhood parking. We were on a narrow street, and when you had cars parked on either side of it, you could barely drive down. So that just kind of puts in perspective. Parking was a very valued commodity up there. And there was this fella who eventually ended up living across the street, but for a while his sister rented an apartment across the street from me, and he was always at his sister's house, at all hours of the day and night, and they would go out together and whatnot. But whenever he would come to visit his sister, he would double park his Corvette on the street. And he would show up sometimes at 5:30 in the morning, and he would double park his Corvette on the street, and he'd leave it there all fucking day. Other times he would park it in the parking lot of the business next door, and he'd leave it there all day and all night. And he'd like storm up and down the street in front of our apartment building early in the morning and late at night, screaming at people on his cell phone because he was a fucking raging cokehead or coke dealer or something, or pimp, or but either way, just kind of a shitbag. One day I came home from work, and I don't know what it was, what had happened that day that had put me in kind of a slightly shitty, feisty mood. But I came home and I went upstairs and I showered and I got all dressed and I went out, and I was gonna just kind of go out for a stroll and see what would happen. I'm probably trying to get laid because I'd broken up with my girlfriend recently. So, I was just kind of, having that kind of saucy young man thing going on. So I walk out of my house and I cross over the barricade they've put up in the parking lot now that it's closed, and I notice this dude's Corvette is parked there in the parking lot that is closed, and he's not supposed to be parked in because he's not a customer. And it was one of those things where I just had enough. I was tired. It had been a long day, and this guy had been on my nerves for 6 months or more. I looked around, and I didn't see anybody. And I reached in my pocket and I pulled out my keys. I just grabbed one key and I kind of went, and it wasn't very hard because I've never keyed a car before, and it's the only time I've ever keyed a car. I'd never keyed a car before, and I was terrified to really lay into it, And as I'm scratching along, I hear this voice behind me shout, "You just made the biggest fucking mistake of your life, kid." And my eyes got huge, and I turned around and I looked, and I saw that it was the guy who owns the Corvette. And I just kind of went, yeah. And I took off running, and I'm just booking for my life, because I don't know what this dude does. I mean, like, at the time I was doing my own dirt, so I was well acquainted with the world, and understanding that there are a lot of people doing a lot of dirt, and if you're fucking flossing to where you're rolling a brand new Corvette, you probably got some kind of muscle going on somewhere, some means. So I was not looking to get caught by this guy because I was afraid that I might lose some things. Body parts, life, essential stuff. So I'm running for my life, and I book around the corner, and I just keep sprinting. Now I'm to the main street, and there's people everywhere, and I'm zigzagging in and out, just trying to get away. And I hear him behind me yelling, "Stop! Stop! Stop! Thief! 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 Stop! Thief!" And I am not a fucking thief. Like, I may be a lot of things, I may have been a lot of things, but I'm not a fucking thief. So I'm running, yelling, "I'm not a thief, I'm not a thief, I did not steal anything, I did not steal anything, I am not a thief." Trying to get away from this guy. Thankfully it's dark, so this is giving me a little bit of an advantage, at least, eventually. But I'm still kind of, new to the area, so I don't necessarily know exactly, that this street doesn't go through here, or that this turns into like a giant wall. So I had a couple instances where I very nearly got caught up by him because, I was not getting away like I thought I was trying to. But I eventually ran into a park and collapsed because my heart was going to explode and my lungs were going to come out my eyeballs. And I saw someone running up behind me, and they had their fist cocked, just ready to lay me out. And I'm laying there just bracing for it because I couldn't even get up, I couldn't move. And he comes up, and I see that it's not the guy. And he's saying, "What'd you steal? What'd you steal? What'd you fucking steal?" And I lay there and go, "Man, I didn't fucking steal anything. I didn't steal anything. He's a fucking asshole. He fucking double parks his car in front of my building, and he's like screaming on his fucking cell phone every fucking day at 5 in the morning so I keyed his car. And he's fucking chasing after me. He's calling me a thief. I didn't fucking steal anything." And the guy stops in his tracks. And he goes, "Oh, okay. All right, man. You should like go over this way, and I'm gonna go back over here. And I'm gonna find him, and I'm gonna tell him that I couldn't catch you. So, good luck, man." And so this dude lets me go, and I hang out, like in a bush for 45 minutes or an hour or some shit like that, and I make my way down to my ex-girlfriend's house, and I like pound on the door until her roommates let me in. She wasn't there. I just needed a place to hang out because I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if there were going to be cops back up in my building or what, I needed to have an inn. And thankfully, my cousin was at work at the location that the parking lot belonged to. So I called my cousin up on his cell phone. I was like, "Hey, dude, so here's the thing, man. I need to know if there are like police out there." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I know what's going on. I know what's going on. Like everybody in the neighborhood knows what's going on, man." Shit, really? Like, they know it's me? He's like, "Well, he saw you come out of the building." Shit, that's not good. Yeah. And then he says to me, "But I've got to apologize, dude. I sort of told him that it was you." And I swear to God, like, I almost broke my cell phone in my hand, squeezing it so hard. And I'm like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You told him it was me." He says, "Well, he came in and he was yelling about how he saw someone come out of this building here, and they came up and they keyed his car, and he wasn't able to catch him, and they looked like this and this and this and this and this." And I just said, "Oh, I know you're not talking about my cousin." You son of a bitch. You son of a bitch. You fucking son of a bitch. You can't keep your goddamn mouth shut. So, my cousin basically fucking, gave me up. So, I got him to come and pick me up from my girlfriend's house and drive me back up there. And we kind of circled around a little bit to make sure that there was no one, waiting to confront me. And I slid back into the building. And in trying to kind of get in front of this and avoid having police show up at my house, because that would have made the situation so much worse, I wrote, an apology, and I took it over to his sister's house, and, gave it to her, and I think there was even something in there that said, like, "Hey, I'll totally, repay to, have the scratch taken care of or whatever." And I didn't hear anything for a real long time. And then I got a phone call, and he was still same asshole prick that he's ever been. And he tells me that I owe him something like $6,000 because he can't get it buffed out because it's plastic or whatever they make fucking Corvettes out of, some, synthetic item. And those things are painted. I'm sorry. It's not molded in that color. That shit's fucking painted. So you can get it painted. It's like, well, I can't get it painted, so I have to replace the whole rear quarter panel, and then I have to get the whole car repainted because it's not gonna match because the quarter panel is gonna be too new. So you're gonna have to pay for that. And I sort of looked at him like, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And then he informs me that I will pay him something like, $100 a week or some shit like that. A couple $100 a week. And if I missed a week, then the payments started over. And that's just how it was, and I just better deal with it. And I was like, no. Hang up. And I didn't hear back from him, and I didn't see him for a while either. He went out of the neighborhood, and it was probably close to 9 months or so went by before I saw him again, and then I started seeing him all the time, because he's now living across the street with his sister. And yes. And he wouldn't see me because, he's not a terribly observant kind of guy, and he's always fucked up, or more fucked up than I was. And so, I'd spot him from a few blocks down, and I'd, find ways to avoid him. One day, I was working at a cafe that was just a few blocks from my house, and so I got to go home on my lunch break. And I'm walking back to my house, and I'm kind of bopping along in my own world, not really paying attention. And I realize that there's someone shouting my name. And like a fucking idiot, I turned around. There he was, right behind me. I was like, get the fuck over here. Get the fuck over here. Telling me again how, I'm going to pay him this money and how payments start over if I don't. And I'm just kind of, again, not having it. But now he's right in my face. And, this seems like it's going to be kind of bad. But again, I somehow talk my way out of, having any kind of further confrontation with him in that instance. And I go about my way. And then I would see him around, and he wouldn't recognize me. And I hadn't changed my appearance. It's not that I had like long hair and then cut it short, or had a beard and shaved it off or anything. Like, I looked exactly the same, and I was wearing all the same clothes. And I would say on at least half a dozen occasions, there were times where he would call out to me and be like, hey you! And I'd stop, and I'd turn around and look at him like, what? And he'd go, never mind, sorry, I thought you were someone else, never mind. Yeah, that's right. And then walk along, inside I'm just like, but, exterior, you have to kind of go about your way to do your thing, like, yeah, fuck you for talking to me like you know me. But I moved away, traveled around a bit, and came back to Oregon after a handful of years. And my very first night back in Portland. I'm out at a club, and it's not the kind of club that I would normally gone to. It was, like a shishi coke lounge, and that's not really my scene. And I was at a table outside, and this taxi pulls up, and two really fucking trashy looking girls get out, and then this douchebag gets out behind him. It's my douchebag. And I just go, oh shit, and I think I might have even just gotten done telling them the story at the table, about how, one of the last times in Portland, this is what happened. And so I just kind of pulled my nose ring out and put it in my pocket, and turned to my friends and said, okay, so that's the guy over there, and I'm hoping that nothing goes down, but if something goes down, please either have my back or be prepared to run. Like, yeah, cool. And they go on inside, but there was kind of that moment as he was going in where he looked in my direction and I was staring him down. But he didn't say anything, he didn't come over. And then I went in to use the restroom, and there was a line for the men's room, but not for the ladies. And I'm standing there, and I see him coming, and he's walking right up to me. I'm like, fuck me, like, first night back in town, and this is how it's going down. Fuck me. And he gets right up in my face, just right there. And he's staring me dead in the eye, and he says, hey man, is this the line for the bathroom? I was like, yep. and we just met eyes, and we were locked for a moment. It's like, do you know? No, you don't know. Oh, you don't know. So he just sort of was like, all right, yeah, thanks. And then he stands right behind me for like 5 minutes. And he tries really poorly to make, like, bathroom line small talk. Like, safe frame, right? I'm like, no, just move here. Oh, man, welcome to town, man. And I'm dying inside right now, just dying. And I go in, take a piss, do my thing, come back out. And I think I even held the door for him. Got out to my friends, and I was like, guys, are we settled up here? Are we ready to go? I'm like, okay, let's go. So we take off. And I'm thinking, I'm never going to see this guy again. Because now I don't live in that part of town. I assume that he's still up there. I don't party at the kind of places that he parties. I just know never to come to this bar again for sure. It'll be alright. About a year goes by, and I'm working at the venue that led to the creation of Rex Wax. But I was working there, and it was attached to a hotel, so it's a bar and a hotel. I worked for both. And one day when I was working in the bar, I see him walk in, and he walks right up to the host desk where I'm standing. And again, I'm dead sure. I think I even might have had a fucking name tag on him. I don't recall. But I was sure that he was gonna know me. And he just asked me, hey, is the restaurant open? Can I get a table? Yeah, sure, no problem. And this is the great thing, is that, like, people are so contextual, like, if you take someone outside of exactly the context in which you know them, it's easy to not recognize them, even if they're people that you see every day, or people that keep your Corvette. Come to find out that he's a regular at both the restaurant and hotel that I work at. And that he stays in the hotel roughly 6 months out of the year. Could have pulled all my hair out right then. Could have just done it, just yanked it all out. Because, I mean, yeah, the guy is a fucking drunk, fucking coked out idiot. But at some point, he's gotta put two and two together and recognize the face and, you know, the name and the face and the name. But no, never did he. I mean, I threw the man out of the bar more times than I can count. I think I even kicked him out of his room a few times. I refused to let him into his room a few times. And at no point did he ever put together again that it was me. Beautiful. But in the time that I was working at this bar and at this restaurant and having all of these interactions with him, I began re-watching some of the early Louis Theroux documentaries. Hadn't seen in years, and thanks to the power of the internet and having a laptop and a graveyard shift, I was able to download. So I was watching Louis Theroux's Wild Weekend, where Louis visited the swingers. And there's a main couple, I forget the couple's name, that he kind of spent the most time with, because they were gearing up to host a giant swing party at their house, and these are people that have been in the scene since the 70s or some shit. And so their whole life and their whole home is completely set up for the swinging lifestyle. So, like, they've got rooms that are full of beds, they've got, like, this one room that's locked up, and it's got fucking, like, underwater neoprene rubber masks with dildos and all kinds of stuff. But they, you know, the kind of culmination of the episode of Wild Weekends there was when they actually threw the party. So Louis Theroux, the presenter, had to seek out the services of a lady for the evening to be his accompaniment to the party, because no single men were allowed in. And so he shows up with his date, and they go in and they register, and they're kind of mingling, and she goes off to talk to people, and he's going off, you know, like, talking to people and taking the cameras around, and we're like, oh, so this is what's going on here, and oh, hey, so tell us about this and that and the other. And as they're going through the house and headed out to the backyard where the pool is and, like, the weird little fuck hut that they've got set up out there, they encounter a couple coming out of the backyard into the house, and the gentleman says, hey, how's it going? My name is, and this is his sister. His sister. And I stopped because I almost dropped my laptop. And I put it down, and I backed it up, and I paused it, and I think I even zoomed in on the screen. I was like, oh my god, it is him. He has that same shitty little haircut, and that same shitty little goatee, and that's his same totally not his sister slutty friend. So of course, you know, I had to show it to everyone that I worked with, and they all just died because he's a super prick, and so they all like to have kind of a little something to giggle over. But yeah, gotta love that. Now, as I said, these events took place a long time ago, and are beyond prosecution. So. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Stone Storytelling with Rex. Have a great day. Happy holidays.